When I first picked up the book Some 40 Tales from the Afterlives by David Eagleman, I thought it would be a book about death. But what I found was something far more 40 little windows into what the afterlife could be. Each strange, unsettling, sometimes funny, and always thought provoking. A few of these fictional stories stayed with me and made me pause in the middle of my day to just think. In today's video, I want to share with you my 5 favorite stories, the ones that whispered questions about memory, identity, choices, and what it really means to live. So welcome to your channel, Kanha Aur Kahaniya, where every tale finds a voice. Let me start with the story called Some, which is the title story from this book. It imagines the afterlife in a way we had never thought of before. What if that wasn't a final stop, but a replay of everything you have ever lived? However, not in the same sequence, but grouped by categories. Imagine this, in the afterlife, you don't relive life as a neat story. Instead, every experience is reshuffled and grouped together. So you don't wake, eat, work, and sleep in cycles. Instead, you spend 30 years asleep in one endless stretch. Then 2 months driving the same street near your house, 7 months having sex, 5 months on the toilet flipping through magazines. Even pain gets reorganized. Instead of scattered accidents, you endure 27 straight hours of agony, broken bones, car crashes, heartbreak, childbirth. When it is over, there's no more pain for the rest of your life. A relief, but also unsettling. Because isn't pain what sharpens our gratitude for comfort? The rearrangement reveals just how much of life is consumed by the trivial. 6 days clipping nails, 15 months searching for the lost items, 18 months waiting in line, 2 years staring out of windows, sitting in airports, doing nothing. And the treasures? They are heartbreakingly brief. 14 minutes of pure joy, 1 year of reading books, 4 weeks of quiet thought. Enough to remind you what mattered, but too little to feel full. At first, the order seems efficient, but quickly you feel the weight of monotony. 67 days of heartbreak with no distractions, 51 days deciding what to wear, 3 months of laundry. Life becomes bizarre inventory. A ledger of actions stripped of surprise. And then it hits you. What made earthly life precious wasn't efficiency, it was the mix. The constant interruptions, the way a dull commute might be broken by a sudden song you loved, or a boring afternoon might be redeemed by unexpected laughter. In this reshuffled afterlife, you find yourself longing for that messiness, for the unpredictable weave of pain, boredom, joy, and love. Because it's in the jumble, not the order, that life felt alive. You imagine something analogous to your earthly life, and the thought is blissful. A life where episodes are split into tiny, swallowable pieces, where moments do not endure, where one experience of joy of jumping from one event would be carried forward to the next like a child hopping from spot to spot on a burning sand. And suddenly you see, life was never about neatness, it was always in its chaos. But what if instead of reliving your past, you were given the chance to become something else entirely? What if afterlife wasn't about remembering as a human, but about escaping humanity altogether? That's where our next story begins, the descent of species. In the afterlife, you're offered a gift. Choose your next existence, anything. A king, a philosopher, a soldier in battle, even the opposite sex. But maybe you have just finished a hard human life. You're tired of the choices, tired of responsibilities, tired of the constant noise of thought. And in that exhaustion, you crave only one thing, simplicity. So you say, make me a horse. At once, the transformation begins. Muscles surge under your skin. A heavy coat press across your body. Your skull stretches forward. Fingers melt into hooves. You feel the raw strength of your new form. And in your brain, strange changes happen. Human worries start to slip away. Bills, betrayals, regrets, gone. All that remains is the thrill of running across open fields, steam curling from your nostrils. It seems perfect. But then, just for a fleeting second, clarity strikes. The more you become a horse, the more you forget why you ever wanted to be one. How can you savor simplicity if you no longer remember the complexity? How can you appreciate escape if you forget what you escaped from? And the horror deepens. This choice is permanent. Next time, with your brain, which is a horse brain, you won't even know what a human is. You'll never choose to climb back up. It's an irreversible choice. And suddenly you wonder, how many times have you chosen the easier path, the quieter life, the smaller dream, just for peace. You thought you were escaping, but maybe you were only stepping into a trap. Because what is peace without memory? What is freedom if it erases the self that longed for it? And that's not the worst of your revelation. You realize that next time you return here with your thick horse brain, you won't have the capacity to ask to become human again. You won't understand what a human is. Your choice to slide down the intelligence ladder is irreversible. And just before you lose your final human faculties, you painfully ponder what magnificent extraterrestrial creature, enthralled with the idea of finding a simpler life, chose in the last round to become a human. Let's move on to the next story, another one from my favorites, Metamorphosis. There are three deaths. The first is when your body stops working. The second is when you're lowered into a grave. And the third and the most final one is when your name is spoken for the last time on earth. And so you wait in a vast, endless lobby, a place that looks like an airport terminal stretched to infinity. Rows of chairs, harsh fluorescent lights, tables lined with coffee, tea, and cookies. Here you stay until that final death comes. At first, it doesn't seem so bad. People from all around the world are here. You can make friends, swap stories, or share a laugh. But at any moment, the callers may enter. They read a name aloud, the sign that on earth no one will ever speak that person's name again. The callers say gently, "You're off to a better place." But no one knows what that means, because no one who exists through that gate has ever come back. Now pause for a moment. Imagine it's your name being called. Would you be ready to go? Or would you cling desperately to the memory of yourself that still lives on earth? The timing is often cruel. Some vanish just as the loved ones arrive, because those loved ones were the last to keep them alive in memory. We shake our heads, but it happens every day. If you wander through the terminal, you'll see people grouped by language, culture, nation. It's like walking across a living map of Earth. But here's the strange thing. Not everyone reads the callers. Some beg for their names to be read. They've been stuck here far too long, remembered for the reasons they can no longer bear. Look, over there, there is one farmer. He drowned into a river 200 years ago. Today, his farm is a college campus, and the tour guides retell his story every week. He's trapped here, his identity stretched into legend, distorted beyond recognition. He doesn't even recognize the man tied to that name anymore. Another one is the woman who's sitting across the aisle. On earth, she was remembered as a saint and still remembered as one. But she knows the truth, that her heart was complicated. Her choices were messy. To live forever as something you weren't is its own kind of health. Here's the question this story forces us to ask. Do you actually want to be remembered forever? Because the longer you're remembered, the less control you have over the story. You stop belonging to yourself and start belonging to others. That is the curse of this place. Once you live in the minds of others, you become their version of you, their myth, their morality tale, their warning, their hero. And only when you're forgotten completely in the third and final death do you finally belong to yourself again. And that is the curse. Since we live in the heads of those who remember us, we lose control of our lives and become who they want us to be. But memory isn't the only haunting measure. What if the judgment comes not from others, but from yourself? Let us move to the fourth story for the day, Subjunctive. Welcome to the world of what ifs. In the afterlife, you're judged not against other people, but against yourself. Specifically, you're judged against what you could have been. So the afterworld is much like the present world, but it includes all the yous that could have been. In an elevator, you might meet some more successful versions of yourselves. Perhaps the you that chose to leave your hometown 3 years earlier, or the you who happened to board an airplane next to the company president who then hired you. You walk through this world and meet them every day. The you who chased love instead of letting it go, and the you who finished the book, kept the promise, stayed the course. At first, it feels like pride, as if their success is somehow yours. but soon it turns to shame. Because they did not start luckier. They had the same cards you did. They just played them better. And everywhere you look, they are there, smiling, thriving, living the life you could have lived. One holds the hand you once let slip away. Another signs the book you never finished. A stronger, happier, braver version of you jogs past outside. You try to comfort yourself among the lesser versions, the ones who gave up, who wasted time. But mocking them feels like mocking yourself. So you build excuses. I wouldn't want that kind of life anyway. But you don't believe it. And that is the punishment of this afterlife. Not fires, not chains, but the comparison. The more you feel short of your potential, the more of your better selves are forced to be faced. So tell me, if you died today, how many better versions of you would be waiting for you? And while we imagine afterlives, there's also another fantasy, undoing everything. Not just making different choices, but reversing life itself. Let's move on to the last story for today, which is Reversal. Reversal is one of the most poetic stories. In this afterlife, life runs backward. There is actually no afterlife, but that doesn't mean we don't get to live a second time. At some point, the expansion of universe will slow down, stop, and begin to contract. And at that moment, the arrow of time will reverse. Everything that happened on the way out will happen again, but in the backward course. In this way, our life neither dies nor disintegrates, but just rewinds. In this reverse existence, you are not buried when you die. You are born out of the ground. At funerals, your body is lifted from the earth with ceremony and carried to the hospital where the birth makeup is carefully removed. From there, you are taken to doctors where you first finally open your eyes. Sounds beautiful, right? No mistakes, no pain. At first, this reversal life feels blissful because for once you know what's coming and you believe maybe now on replay life will finally make some sense. But then the surprise comes. You discover that memory has been lying to you. All your life you've been weaving little myths, bending details, shifting moments to stitch together to a story that felt consistent, a story that made sense of who you were. But now, in reverse, that fabric unravels, and every step backwards slams you against reality. 100 tiny collisions between reminiscence and truth. Until finally, as you return to the womb, you realize you understand yourself no better than what you did for the first time. Because life, forward or backward, is never as coherent as we pretend. I hope you liked the stories. Please comment and let me know which one is your favorite stories from the book Some. Thank you for watching the video. Subscribe our channel for more such stories from all across the world. Because with every ear that listens, a tale lives on.